But it's a healing approach where you gather love in your heart. You just gather love in your heart, and then you move and not that romantic love, right? Just feel love in your heart. Just feel love. And you move that love down your arm meridians into your hand chakra, so where you're holding it in your hand, and then you can apply it to anything. You can apply it to anyone or anything. And just remembering that foundational precept of healing, which is high frequency transforms low frequency. That's the basic precept of healing. High frequency transforms low frequency. Through presence, not through force. So in other words, if we look at this just from a structural point of view, a more coherent, organized state can reorganize a less coherent one. And I'm going to say it one more time. A more organized and coherent state can reorganize a less coherent one, or I should say will reorganize a less coherent one. And it's going to land more in a minute if as we build on this. Because if you think of the Hawkins map of consciousness, so we're going to think in terms of higher frequency is greater coherence and organization, and lower frequency as greater incoherence and fragmentation. So this isn't a moral hierarchy when we talk about higher frequency or lower frequency. This is talking about coherence and organization. And there's a lot that can disrupt the coherence and organization in the energetic field. And that's why the majority of our work is focused on clearing out what is creating incoherence and fragmentation and restoring coherence. So let's look at the Hawkins map of consciousness. It's really significant for this component of the heart chakra healing and understanding. And Hawkins has a map of consciousness where every emotion calibrates at a frequency. The lower frequencies are the negative emotions. So every negative emotion calibrates at a lower frequency. Every positive emotion calibrates at a higher frequency. And people carry their own unique frequency that they're born into, but then also have the capacity to evolve into throughout their life. And you can calibrate your frequency. When you heal yourself and you do this work, you raise your frequency on the Hawkins scale of consciousness. You calibrate higher. But this is significant when it comes to the heart chakra, because when you are holding a heart chakra frequency, you're holding, and you're in your heart and you're just feeling that energy, you're holding that 500 calibration. And when you introduce that to anything that's in the lower frequencies, it's going to elevate them. So the moral of this is the superpower of your heart chakra is healing power. This is where your healing power is. That's the moral of this. We talked about all of the clairsenses and the superpowers of the chakras. The superpower of the root chakra is, well, it holds your spirit in your body. The superpower of the sacral chakra is it's your access to your manifesting power and ability, because it's your connection to source creative energy. The superpower of your solar plexus chakra is your clairsentience. And the superpower of your heart chakra is your ability to heal, is your power to heal and your ability to heal. And if you hold love in your heart and you move it down your arm meridians to your hand chakras and you place them, then you're giving healing energy. You don't need attunements to Reiki or any modality. If you can bring love in your heart, move it down your arms And if you do have training in a modality, this just augments that. This just augments that. But everybody has the capacity to heal, and it comes from the heart chakra. But we're going to talk about the anatomy of the heart chakra. You have the main component of your heart chakra, but then you have the two higher heart chakra chambers. And I learned this through observation. I didn't read about this. I just discovered it doing all my healing sessions and observing the energy system and learning from the angels. But you have the upper left and the upper right. And these higher heart chakra chambers very often become clogged up and they won't function. And the left is your upper left. So any wounding you inherited from your mother's side of your family, your ancestral line from the matriarchal line, that's going to live in your higher heart chakra chamber in the left. Or if you had an abusive mother, or any wounding from the female, or any wounding around your relationship with your own feminine energy, that's right here. And the right, that's the paternal side. So any relationship wounding you experience with the man or with the masculine energy or from your paternal lineage, that's going to live in your higher heart chakra on the right side. It also has a lot, it will store grief. It will store grief and attachment wounds and giving and receiving imbalance. So your heart chakra has a very strong connection to your arm meridians in your hands, of course, right? Here's your heart, here's your arm meridian, here's your hand. Okay. And energy will move from your heart down to your hands. It's like I was saying, you can put that love in your heart and put it down into your hands to offer that healing. And I discovered that in session that you can actually pull stuck energy out of the heart chakra through the hand chakras. You can, if you have stuck energy in your heart chakra, if you're working on a client, you can just pull stuff out of your hand chakra or pull stuff out of their hand chakras. And you can try it on yourself. You can put your hand like this and you can pull, and you can feel that pull of energy. If there's anything to be pulled that you can pull, literally pull stuff out with the intention and just going like this. And and then of course you'll want to dispose of it once it's out. You know, I can put it in the burn bowl or intend that you're sending it down into the earth to be neutralized or handing it over to the divine team or sound healing. So this is a really good, not just hand chakra clear, just cleaning out, just pulling stuff out. The intention is you're just pulling stuff out. But it's also a good heart and arm meridian clear. And a lot will, I'm all over the place with my notes, whoops. So pain in your shoulders or arthritis or pain in the joints, that's just a collection of that dense energy that couldn't move out. So you can release stuff from your heart chakra down your arm meridians and out your hands. You could put your hands on the ground and just give it to the earth. You can ground from your hands. And that's wonderful for grounding out what's in the higher chakras. Because we talk a lot about grounding what's out in the lower chakras, but you also want to ground out what's in the higher chakras too. And you do that through your arm meridians and your hand chakras. And also that's why like salting your hands is also really good. It's just cleansing for your hand chakras and your arm meridians. But people who have arthritis, well, they're always older, right? Well, what do you have when you're older? A lifetime of emotional pain that probably didn't have opportunity to fully clear. But you can pull all of that out, and it's always going to get stuck in the joints. It always gets stuck in the joints, right? That's just dense emotional energy that didn't make it out. Okay. And that's why when you hold hands with someone, you feel that heart connection. You feel that heart connection with someone when you're holding hands. Because it's connecting into your heart. And then your hearts are connecting when you're holding hands. And the energy is moving through the meridians in your arms and through your hand chakras. That's where that heart connection comes in, through holding hands. And that's also where the giving and receiving is very much heart chakra, because we give and we receive with our hands, and the hands from the heart, right? The hands heart connection. And any wounds you may have in your heart chakra are going to be indicating to you any imbalance that you may have around giving and receiving. So let's talk really quick about heart chakra and invasives. What happens when the invasives target the heart chakra? So the heart chakra can collect grief, and especially in the higher heart chakra chambers. And grief is a low frequency, as we saw on the Hawkins map. And it's a match. It's a match for the invasive. That lower section of the frequency calibration of the Hawkins map of consciousness, that's where invasives live. And they feed on that frequency. So if you have that frequency anywhere in your higher heart chakra chambers, which we all do, because we all have ancestors that had trauma and wounding that they weren't able to resolve in their life. So of course we're going to inherit that. And where are you going to find it? You're going to find a lot of it in your higher heart chakra. A lot of it can be in your root too, but you're also going to find a lot of it in your higher heart chakra. So you have a match, and then that's where an entity can grip in. Now, if an entity can grip in on a higher heart chakra, what do you think they have control of? They have a control of the person's hands. And it can be anything. They can control a person's hands, and to anything from, well, their habits, right? Or pointing, people who point and blame and shame, those blame, shame bullets of energy that they shoot, that's not coming from the person. That's coming from the entity that's in that person's heart chakra. Those pointing bullets of blame and shame. Or even to the extent of physical assault, physical abuse, anything that they do with the hands to cause harm from someone else. If a person doesn't have an entity in their heart chakra, they're not going to do any of that. That's all entity driven. That's all entity driven. And why do they have an entity there? Because they have wounds there. And this isn't my way of justifying anybody's hostile or, behavior or bad behavior. It's just the more you begin to see it, the more you begin to realize, wow, it all starts with clearing out the heart chakra. And depression, heart chakra, just stuff that's collected in the higher heart chakras or the heart chakra hasn't been able to release. Depression is always heart chakra. I will speak briefly about the heart chakra and earthbounds. If you have grief over the loss of a loved one, like a loved one who passed away, that's going to live in the higher heart chakra too, or in the heart chakra. And it will block your ability to connect with them or to receive their love, because just because somebody passes away doesn't stop them from being your loved one. They're still your loved one. They're just going to have to interact with you in a different way. But if you have grief in your heart chakra, that's going to block you from being able to receive their love and their presence in your life. And a lot of times, working as a medium, when I worked as a medium, that was one of the most number one things that my clients, loved ones on the other side, would bring me their clients to help clear that grief out of their heart chakra that they have over losing them, so that they could connect to them, because the grief will block their ability to connect to their loved one on the other side. And it'll block their loved one on the other side from being able to connect to them. And a lot of people believe they have to hold that grief in equal measure to the love that they had for the person. But that's actually not true. Or we're just sort of socialized or programmed to think my grief has to be equal to the love I had for that person. But everything I see from the loved ones on the other side, they're just like, please don't. Because something else that can happen is if you're holding a lot of grief for the person who is crossed, it can actually prevent them from crossing and get in the way and block them from crossing and keep them earthbound and keep them stuck to you in your heart chakra, from your heart chakra. So it's good to clear the grief. Oh, something else I did not mention. I wrote it, but I didn't mention it. That is what a panic attack is. A panic attack is when an entity is gripping on the higher heart chakra chambers and agitating all of that grief and anxiety. That's what a panic attack is. And I say this with such certainty because I have personally experienced panic attack and witnessed it and pulled off that entity, and then the panic attack is like instantly gone. And I've also had multiple clients who have come to me in crisis in the middle of a panic attack. And once that entity, and I would see the entity gripping on their higher heart chakra, and you get that entity off their higher heart chakra, instantly better. And it's not physiological, right? You think it's physiological because it feels physiological, and it is having a physiological effect on you, but it's entity. So anytime you have or know someone who has a panic attack, that is entities targeting the higher heart chakra. And the answer, the remedy, is to clear out those higher heart chakra chambers. So there isn't a match, a frequency match for entities to be able to grip onto and access you through and create that. Oh, and the angels are reminding me, and I do want to mention this, is that, oh gosh, I can't believe I didn't put this in my notes. Okay. If you experience a lot of wounding to your heart chakra, you know the saying broken heart? Well, you literally do have damage to your heart chakra. A broken heart is real. You really do. You have damage to your heart chakra. And if your heart chakra is damaged, then that's going to affect your entire energetic system. That's why we get depressed, why we get broken heart, we get depressed. Our whole system starts to shut down because you need your heart chakra for coherence in your field. And that's why people who have experienced heartbreak or any heart disappointment are reluctant to, I just don't want to get hurt again. You know that saying, I just don't want to get hurt again. Yeah, they're afraid to get hurt again because they know on a psychic subconscious level that their heart chakra is already so damaged that it can't take any more damage. Their energy system cannot sustain any more damage. Well, if it just needs to be repaired, it just needs to be repaired. You can go in and you can repair your heart chakra. You can repair a broken heart, literally repair a broken heart, because a broken heart is really just a damaged heart chakra. And a damaged heart chakra can be restored. You just got to clean out all of that and then get it activated and flowing and functioning again. And another thing I want to point out about the heart chakra is the fact that the backside of your heart chakra really does have a lot to do with your ability to receive love. To receive love. And if it's clogged up, then you could be surrounded by love. Everybody in your life could have all this love for you, but you're not going to feel it. So you're going to continue to feel unloved. And it doesn't mean that you're not loved. It just means that you have a clogged up heart chakra. You just want to unclog your heart chakra and you'll begin to feel the love around you again. You'll begin to absorb that and take it in, feel it. But back, I'm just checking with the angels. Yeah, they're saying I can proceed. So back to my story. I had a client come in. We were doing a lot of work on her heart chakra, and we weren't able to get it all. We were only able to get it about 80% of the way cleared and repaired. And so it was really interesting because I was also going through a lot of deep heart chakra healing for myself at that time, because it was still pretty fresh after my mother had passed away. And that was a deep grief that I carried because she was like my number one person in my whole life. And it was probably one of the most tragic events of my life was losing her. So I had all of that in my heart chakra and I knew that I had to address it. So not only was I providing healing sessions for my clients, but I was also deeply focused on healing myself in my heart chakra. And I was laying on my own healing table in my healing space with all of my tools and everything. And I'm deep in my journeys and I'm doing this deep heart chakra work. And it was really interesting too, because as I've discovered, it was like this tar substance in my journey in my heart chakra, and clearing it and clearing it and clearing it. I started coughing the most like intense cough, like my whole body was just expelling that as I was in my heart chakra. So I did all this deep work on my heart chakra healing, and I had really achieved a very deep level of clearing for my heart chakra. And then something interesting happened. Immediately after I did that, and I don't want to say it was probably a week or two after I had had my session with my client, she calls to reschedule with me. And she comes in, and we were able then to finally complete the healing that she needed to achieve for her heart chakra. And I found it really interesting. And I asked the angels, why weren't we able to complete it in our last session? Why did she have to come back? And the angels explained to me that, or my guides, they explained to me that I had to achieve a certain degree of healing within my own heart chakra before I was going to be able to facilitate for her full healing for her heart chakra. And that brings home something really, really significant on the level of understanding. It's that the more wounded you are, and the more you can take that wounding and heal it, the more you can restore yourself from your own trauma and your own wounding, the more you're carrying that frequency, the code. You become the medicine. You become the living medicine for others. Anybody you interact with, your frequency is communicating that message. You carry the codes, you carry the healing codes. The more you heal yourself, the more you carry healing codes for others. And you don't even have to do anything. It's like through your coherence, through presence, not force. You just hold that presence where others can reassimilate their coherence. And I've noticed that frequently throughout, the decade plus that I've worked as a healer, is the more I would heal myself, the more I was able to offer healing to others. And that gives your trauma meaning. That gives all of your pain and all of your trauma and all of your struggles meaning, doesn't it? Because once you finally achieve your own healing, you are carrying the answer. You are the answer. You are the living answer. You are the living medicine. Your frequency becomes that medicine, that just your presence alone. And Hawkins teaches this, if you're familiar with his work. Your frequency alone becomes healing for all those around you.